We're Batman at 89.
I think where else does this plot go? Actually,
That's a good question.
There's a point where you're established that, much like in Wayne's World, where Wayne really wanted this white guitar, that Prince also wants this white guitar, and then Apollonia, in the midst of like being sort of not wooed by Morris Day, but sort of like talked around to coming in and being part of a band he's putting together, she also buys Prince the guitar. Or sorry, the kid. And you think, oh, what's a nice gesture. I bet he'll be really grateful for this. And nothing could backfire.
My exact thoughts were actually, you've known him for 2 days. Go on.
Yeah. I'm assuming, because again, this guy dresses like he's got money just falling out of his perfectly coiffed hair. So this guitar must be expensive if he can't afford it. And and then she finds out, or he finds out that she's just been talking to Morris Day, and then he flips his lid and like actually properly hits her. And it's like, I remember this is when I was a teenager. I was like, "What? This is your vanity project? Where you're beating up your girlfriend? Why would you put this in a movie where you wanted to come off well? Like, this is an insane idea to me."
To be fair, though, I think that I'm not saying it's a wise move. But the story is basically like, his dad is abusive to the mum, so it's what he's used to, he's grown up with, and he feels bad about it instantly, but he kind of can't stop himself. I think that's what he's going for, isn't it?
Here's what's weird for me. The sequence of events is his mother and father burst into his bedroom cellar, fighting. The dad hits the mum, and they're all sad about it, and there's lots of crying, and then Prince falls asleep, and then he wakes up, and his girlfriend is climbing in through the window. She gives him the guitar, she tells him she joined the girl band that Morris is putting together. He slaps her immediately. No, hesitation, nothing. And then later on, and then the big, apology and, sort of forgiveness moment later on is when he sings Purple Rain and the words are like, "Oh, I never meant to hurt you." And I'm like, no, I think you did. Given the context of that scene and given the fact that she just told you that she was joining your rival's band, you hitting her, you did mean to hurt her. That's what you meant to do. There's no question about what your intent was at that point.
That is true. You can't argue with that. There was no other reason to do what he did.
No, 100%. I think that's why I kind of in the my reviewing of it, I was like, oh, because I had 15 years to think, oh, it's like a big stupid vanity project, and now I'm kind of like, oh, it's actually supposed to be a film about the cycles of abuse and whatnot, and the fact this man desperately wants to not be his father. And yet he is falling into it. And then by the end, he does realize the error of his ways. And I was kind of like, it's not the best acted, but I can at least see that there's a point to it. And it's not like...
See, but that's where I disagree. I don't think that the end of it is him seeing the error of his ways. Because the end of it is him looking over his father's music and going, yes, I'm going to start playing this. And the end of it is him kissing his father on the head while his dad's in hospital. And, getting back together with his girlfriend who he just hit. I think anything that was trying to say, oh, he's actually realized what's going on and he's trying to put a stop to it, then he would have to not be forgiving his father and his mum getting back together with his father. He would have to not be, he'd have to be separating himself from his dad in some way. Or at the very least, you could have the girlfriend not get back together with him and him have to actually, earn his way in a relationship rather than it just being it's okay now, you sang a song and everyone loves you.
Yeah, she gets over it very easily. It is just oh, okay, we'll move past that. That's it.
It does, I will say, in the defense of that end sequence, because this film functions as a musical, that those beats in communication, while they're not specifically written into the lyrics, which is funny because it's a musical without the specific nodding to each other. Where King and I is literally, she's I'm getting to know you, so we're gonna sing about me getting to know you. But in this one, it's it's just everything that would emotionally be packed into that last beat just happens in a song. And it's funny because it's not even a song that should sell out the house and bring down that crowd after everything that we've been led to expect of that crowd and like what they want. But it just washes over everyone, and it is this moment of just like, let's break the cycle. I'm gonna forgive my father for who he is, because if I don't, I'll just continue to be him. And then like that's what that kiss is to me at the end. And then just the magic of music is like what just teaches everyone a lesson, because everyone just goes quiet. There's no hecklers. Like they're just like, oh god,
it's beautiful.
Purple Rain. You're right, Purple Rain.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Well, I mean, they're both very, very valid points, and like, I don't know. I think maybe I was just more forgiving of the film this time, just because I could see like, oh, they are trying something. There is an attempt to be like, oh, we're addressing an issue.
They're trying to have some kind of a deep moral core.
And yeah, but everything you said, Dale, is like, that's all perfectly. That's a very valid interpretation. So it's like, well, you know, maybe the 15 years I was like, this is a pile of shit. I was like, oh, maybe I was right there. But
I mean, to be fair, I have an English literature degree, so it's like 3 years of me like pulling apart movies to say this is what it's trying to say, and this is where that becomes complicated and where it falls down. So you know, I've got 3 years of that under my belt. I kind of can't break the habit.
Well, I will just point out as well, me and Niall saying we like this movie, people listening might think, do you? Because all we're doing is ripping into it. But that's the point of this show. Come on.
We had to do that several times with in the main body of Batman, where like we were laying into that show or in that movie and the individual minutes so much that we had to kind of go like, we do actually really love this movie, by the way.
But that's the fun, isn't it? Like, if you love something, you can point out the flaws. Before we move on to another scene, can I just mention the terrific, insanely sensual sex session that we get here at Prince's Pad? It was very erotic. I felt uncomfortable watching
extreme.
it.
Like, I went into this movie going, how is this going to be MA-15+?
Well, this is
that
how.
Seems like a high rating for music. But damn, he was like going in. I'm just saying, it was
all hands on deck. I mean,
it's like not until Tommy Wiseau would pick up a camera would you be seen.
Oh no! Don't make me relive that.
I think
sadly, we don't see Prince's ass.
Me and John have relived that scene several times on the big screen. Like,
yes.
And while the man himself was in the building, I was like, oh, there it is. Like, how's it going, Tommy? But
you guys see my butt? Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I am surprised Prince didn't put his ass like front and center.
It is weird.
Yeah.
He doesn't put his ass, but like I will note that like this bit when he's performing, is it?
I thought you were going to say performing some kind of act.
No, there's a bit like, because like you're getting the whole thing of like, oh, look at how good a performer he is, and look at how good a ventriloquist he is out of nowhere, and
look at how good a lover he is.
And there's a bit where you find out like he's just on stage and he's not got a shirt on. He's got this kind of Zorro mask going on, and it seems to be like he's got the shirt off just to be like, I just want to know people to know I'm pretty buff as well.
Yeah,
for the record.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just like just so the ladies out there know this. Like, this is what is under the frock, and it's kind of, and the way they frame him in the film is quite strange, because if anyone's listened to like, you know, Kevin Smith's accounts of working with Prince, they'll know that like he's notoriously very, very small. He's supposed to be like a very, very short man. He had to wear like children's basketball clothes because he was that small. But in the film, you can't really tell that. But Morris Day, weirdly enough, he, as I said already, like he looks like a child in a man's clothes, and then Prince looks like a fully grown, functioning adult, and like a proper, like, you could. If someone asked me like after watching this movie, like, what height is Prince? I'd be like, I don't know, like 5, you know, it's 5 foot something. Like, he's probably pretty, you know, average size. And apparently he's not. He's very small.
Well, like a 5'10".
Yeah, but apparently he's more like he's closer to the Danny DeVito kind of level of height.
Yeah, he's
like,
tiny because he's usually wearing heels as well.
But again, it's just more like
But he wears them very well.
Oh
yeah.
But he does have a moment here of like, no, I'll get the shirt off. Just like, no, don't show the height, but show like the bod.
Yeah, waist up.
Yeah, totally.
Showing the goods.
During one of the many musical sequences where he's kind of like, the songs are vaguely dictating the plot, because you get a bit with When Doves Cry, and it's like, oh, I guess it kind of, because it's like, maybe I'm just like my father, do go, and you're like, oh, that's tying into his the whole abusive father thing. And then the rest of the lyrics are like, I don't really know. But then, there's a whole bit where he performs, and I don't get this at all, because again, the band are on fire, and everyone in the club seems to love it, except Billy Sparks, the guy who runs the club, who apparently wasn't an actor, and would you never be able to tell wasn't an actor in real life.
What?
And
I am shocked by that information.
but and then there's I think it was in the Darling Nikki, and it's supposed to be
my favorite Prince song.
Yeah, but then it's painted then afterwards as if like he's done something horrifically offensive to Apollonia, and it's like, maybe it's because it takes me a while when I listen to songs to kind of get into the lyrics.
If you're about to say that the song had nothing to do with her or their relationship with each other, you're exactly right.
No, I think it did, because you know what I think he was doing? I think he was singing this song about, a tryst with a lady to make her jealous and annoy her.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
because
would maybe make sense if that's why they were having trouble, but they weren't. They were having trouble because he was beating her.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to deny that.
I just
don't get
feel
me
like
wrong.
it's such a removed thing for her
I
to
think
be...
he feels like, though, it was, from his point of view, I didn't mean it. Sorry. Why are you still annoyed at me? So he's like, I'm going to make you jealous. I'm going to sing about this woman I've slept with. Because then she gets her own back in a way by singing a really sexy song dressed in lingerie. And Prince is like,
She's just doing her job. She's not getting back at him.
Oh, I don't know. That's how he sees it, though. Because it's all about Prince.
See, lyrically, though, I can't. Like, Darling Nikki, it starts off with the lines, I knew a girl named Nikki. I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby masturbating with a magazine. I was like, wait a minute, stop. What?
Yeah, I've always had a question about that, right? When he says that line, because this is my favorite Prince song, right? Does he mean she was looking at the magazine and touching herself, or she was touching herself with the magazine?
Let's break it. All right, Boffins, let's break this one down.
I mean, both are pretty strange to do it in a hotel lobby.
Yeah, I'm assuming she was not in that hotel lobby for long, unless it was like an absolute dive where they're like, oh, we let anything go.
Oh, yeah.
Because also, what magazine is it? Because it could be like a furniture catalog. We don't know. We're not given any information.
Like a Better Homes and Gardens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, oh, God, that French molding.
Yeah, oh.
But the thing is, he performs this, and then everyone, again, like it takes me like a couple listens to any song to actually start like really getting the lyrics. So if someone wrote a diss track to me unless they were literally like jamming their finger in my face and saying this is about you, I'd be kind of afterwards been like politely clapping like, hey, great. Like I wouldn't.
It's the Arrested Development getaway.
Yes, get away. It's exactly what I was thinking of, because I've just rewatched season 4 to prep for season 5.
I finished season 5 today. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Well, that was part 1 of season 5, because I only found out earlier in the week that they're like, oh yeah, we've got the first 8 episodes.
Yeah.
You get the rest later. And I was like, oh, there's only 6 episodes to Kimmy Schmidt as well. And they're like, no, the rest of that comes later in the year as well. And it's like, what are you doing to me, Netflix? Jesus Christ, just give me the damn show. But anyway, But everyone in the club seems to be very much like, this is wrong. You can't do this to this poor woman. And she's offended, and Morris is offended, and Billy Sparks is offended, and he tells off Prince, and he's saying, no one digs your music but you. And it's all like, oh, this performance of Darling Nikki, pretty good song, and a pretty good performance, is like the nadir of this guy's career all of a sudden. This is supposed to be the bad times. And it's like,
Which upset me as a fan of the song.
Yeah, well, I thought it was odd. It was a very, if you had him come out like drunk, barely been able to hold a guitar, and then he was just like screwing up on stage.
What Shane McGowan did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I would get. But this is like, nice, like, again, this is apparently is a targeted attack on Apollonia, but
you know what? I figured it out. This really helped me figure out what I like about this movie and why it's the opposite of Solo
Oh,
for
I'm
me.
looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I I really appreciate the host's supportive atmosphere that they have provided.
It's a safe space.
I think I like. It's so funny to me when directing is better than a script because directing is so invisible. But when a script isn't connecting dots, but you can still get actors to make emotional adjustments and choices, that's so fascinating to me and so fun to watch. Whereas in Solo, there were all these moments where it was like, and now you're changed because you're sad, but then they weren't like emotionally directed. Where Solo's like, where Han was just like, yeah, I guess it's pretty bad. All right, Chewie, let's get in the Falcon. And it's like, oh, okay,
I like
well,
the way
script.
that your brain works in terms of like clearly the two most recent movies you've seen are Purple Rain and Solo, and so your brain is just working to make like this whole brilliant comparison between the
Thank
two.
you.
I love that
Thank you.
keeps coming up.
Thank you. You know, they both had titles. another thing they had in common.
It's true. It's true.
They both had really smooth guys in.
They did have very smooth guys. Yeah, they both had very smooth guys.
I've always thought Lando was a bit Prince. In fact,
Oh,
there's a Prince
yeah.
element to him.
Ah,
The capes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when people
the capes.
people kicked off recently about Lando, they said he's pansexual. People were like, "Oh, how can they say that?" I mean,
I
again,
feel like
I know
we
now.
all knew that deep down already.
Yeah,
Oh, of course, yeah.
Lando seems like the kind of guy who would do anything.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't care. He's up for fun. Like,
And then other Solo because at the end, spoilers for the end of Solo, to defeat Paul Bettany, Han actually just starts singing a song that Emilia Clarke wrote, and then Paul Bettany kind of stands and looks at him, and then he just gives him this little head nod, like, yeah, you still got it.
You got me.
You still got it, man. Like, you and me, we still got it.
Oh,
We'll get to that
that'd
in
be
a bit.
amazing.
Because that's the thing. The Billy Sparks giving him that nod, I could write an essay on.
The slow zoom. Oh man.
Okay, actually, I've just realised something. I didn't bring up something I wanted to. The main sort of conflict of this movie doesn't make sense to me, right? Because
It doesn't make sense.
It
Go on.
doesn't make sense. No, I mean, the club owner, was it Billy Sparks? He said, like, his whole thing is, I've got 3 acts.
Yep.
I don't need 4. One of you has to go. It's like, why? Since when is this how clubs work?
Is it the same? Do they have to play every night? Like, what is?
Yeah, what's going on?
You not put them on rotation.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Maybe that's why people aren't responding.
That would perform well every night was a bit.
But
where he's like, I
that's
need
not-
a group that can do it every single night. And that's why they were like, girl group. And he was like, oh, girl group.
that doesn't make sense. That's not how a club works. You book different acts.
there's also weird things. Like, maybe this is explained kind of in the film, but like, there's a bit where the Revolution come out and they perform The Beautiful Ones, and it's supposed to be such a rousing hit with the crowd. And then you see them going backstage afterwards going like, oh yeah, one song, and you walk off. And then Billy Sparks is like, what the hell's with this one song stuff? And then later on in the movie, it seems like all the bands are just doing like one song. Like,
Yeah.
you see a band go on before the time, then you see the time come on, and they do The Bird, and then they're off, and then the Prince is out. But then it looks as if that's when he performs Purple Rain. And it looks as if he just marches off the stage then, as if like that was the one tune, and they realize like, no, the crowd want us back. And it's like, what is the rules of this club? Like, that didn't make any sense to me at all.
They play so beautifully with time in this movie because there's the montage at the end when he's looking back on his memories, and you're like, oh God, years have passed. I did not realize that you guys went and did so much.
30 years.
And this ends like the end of like Godfather 3. It just like Prince is this old man, just keels over in a courtyard somewhere.
And that's the story of how I made it.
Oh, I want to see him die like the end of the first Godfather, though. He just with fruit in his hand, just
I thought you were
falls to
going
the
to
floor.
stop your sentence at, I want to see him die.
Oh, no. That's already happened.
God, too soon, Dale. Too soon.
Too soon.
I didn't
Oh.
see it.
I mean, literally, you
God.
did. You literally said the phrase the way you thought it should be said.
Well, speaking of dying as
Yes.
well, Prince comes home. So Prince comes home. He sees his mum outside and goes in and can't find his dad. He can hear music, though, so he goes downstairs. And he finds his dad playing the piano. Now, with the slow build and the way it was shot and the music and things, I thought either the mum has killed the dad in self-defense or he's hung himself and he's hanging in the basement. But no, he was just playing the piano. I thought that was going to be the story, like he can't live with himself for what he's done. But no, it didn't take that interesting approach. It's just he's playing the piano and his advice to his son is never get married.
Yep.
And then eventually he does take that approach.
Yeah, basically.
Just when they've tricked you into thinking that he didn't.
Yeah, and he fails.
But the most baffling part of that scene for me was the fact that it's like a revelation to him that his father plays piano. He's all like, he sees like the sheet music that he wrote, and he's like, "Oh, did you write this?" And he's like, "Of course I wrote it." And it's like, Prince, you're like 27 here. How do you not know that your dad plays piano?
Also, Billy Sparks knows that your dad was a musician. Like, I was under the impression that's kind of how you got this gig.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the impression I got, I don't know whether this was just me, but like, there's two things. Either his dad sort of stopped the music because of the family, he wanted to raise the family and whatnot, or is it because did he become like a drunk and
He's an
whatnot?
alcoholic, right?
Yeah, was that why he stopped doing the music, or is it because he had to settle down and he didn't want to settle down, and that's why he became a drunk?
I think
Ooh.
a lot of his anger seems to be about
Deep.
having the house be clean, which is another, like, that reminded me, like, oh, like Leo Johnson in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I said that when I was watching it.
It's like, that's his, I think that was just a thing in, like, the 80s. It's like, that's what abusive husbands want. They just want the house to be clean. Because it's in all this, that's very, like, old hackneyed dialogue of, I just want this house clean. And I was like, yeah, apparently.
I want my dinner on the
I
table.
was like, I don't know if I'm going to call it, I guess I just have to call him Clarence Williams, because that's the only, its character, he doesn't get a name either. It's more like just Prince's dad, or the kid's dad. But,
Yeah, in the credits he was father,
yeah.
I believe.
Father.
Yeah, it's a bit too posh, that father.
Play the harpsichord again, father.
Oh my god, I wish there was a harpsichord in this film. Prince on the harpsichord, I could buy that 100%.
Oh, you know he could play a harpsichord. That's without a doubt. Like, they just couldn't fit one on stage. That was the only problem.
And that would have been another connection to Solo.
Oh, yes. Oh my god. This can be cut, Niall, but what did you think about the musical scene in Solo, all of you? Like,
There
I
was a
liked it.
musical scene.
Well, there's a bit, like you have in Jabba's palace with a song.
Oh yeah, the floating head singing bit thing.
I liked it. Some people do
What?
not.
Okay,
Yeah.
I need to know whether Omar is making that up right now.
No, he's not.
Bit where
I wasn't the one who started this.
there's a bit where, like, yeah, there's like a very sexy kind of like woman singing, and she got like a weird
And then
electronic,
the face of bow.
yeah, and like an electronic thing in front of her mouth, and then you find out that she's doing a duet with this weird floating blob head in a jar.
Futurama
And,
style.
and his vocals are all kind of like, and I love that.
Yeah.
That was just like, oh, this is really, really silly. I love this. But, that
Yeah, I liked
it
it.
felt very much like that was like there's certain bits, like when you see like old Lady Proxima, and she's got that really cartoony voice. That's a problem. Like,
I
what
love
did you
that.
say? Like, that really strikes me as like, this is a Lord and Miller scene, and that other bit,
Yeah.
that's their humor. Ron Howard doesn't have that in him. Like, that's one of the things they already had laid down there, and that was one of the, like, those two scenes I would be willing to bet if eventually the vaults are open and we get all the dirt and what happened with Solo. That will be like, oh, these two scenes at least were original scenes that they just kept intact, you know. But that's what I'm going to place bets now. Basically, is what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I'll throw chips into that. I feel the same way.
Hell yeah. So then we get a bit that, right, Morris Day, one of the worst drunk actors I think I've ever seen. He's no Leahy from Trailer Park Boys,
oh
is he?
man, I think look, nobody is really like that was that's that man's legacy.
Rest in peace, Leahy.
Oh yeah, very very sad watching that last season, knowing it was his last season. But
No. But it does, this scene, as bad as his drunk acting is, it leads to one of my favourite bits, where Prince essentially tries to murder Morris Day with his motorbike.
It does a little bit.
He runs him over completely.
It was like Black Rain status, right? Like, it was like a really creepy, like, motorcycle scene. I almost wanted him to just have that sword, like, sparking up against the ground. That would have been great, just going after Michael Douglas.
My God. That'd be amazing.
No,
Couldn't you imagine Prince with a sword? He looks like an anime character.
He should be in He should have been in Highlander. Like, he should have been the next Highlander, and then he should have been like like him and McLeod at best would have come up with a truce. But most likely
there can be only two.
There can be, yeah.
That's where you wanted the prince to be looking at him, and then like the puppet's voice from earlier just be like, "Now's your chance, kid. Go get him." But there's like a floating like phantom head of the puppet like revolving around his head, taunting him or something.
Can so easily recut a trailer of Purple Rain to be about this haunting puppet, and just start with that shot of him by himself. He's like, I don't need the band, I don't need anyone, and then just keep repeating that voice and just show every time he's on a motorcycle racing at people.
If only he could like try to make it. Edit it so that scene of Jerome throwing that woman in the dumpster was like Prince dumping a body. So they were going.
I
can't believe.
Thought, based on the cover of this movie, that Prince was going to be a vigilante.
That'd be amazing.
It's like, well, he doesn't. You know, he's.
I thought it was going to be a cyberpunk movie. He was going to be like samurai style motorbike riding vigilante. That's what I thought. And then it was just music on a stage.
Oh, it all sounds like the past few minutes have just been like just pitching better films than what Purple Rain actually is.
No, we like this movie. Don't ruin it.
Well, I was trying to think, what else happens in the plot? We do get the unveiling of Apollonia 6, where Apollonia is wearing, I'm fairly certain, this is just Tim Curry's Frankfurter outfit from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
It is!
It's the same exact thing, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it totally is like, oh, we had that line back, and you'd be surprised. Like, yeah, Apollonia and Tim Curry's measurements are identical.
She should have done the full thing now. How do you do? I see you've met my faithful handyman.
Like, instant way to make this film 10 times better. Tim Curry plays Apollonia. There you go. I'm on board for that.
Yes!
Change nothing else.
If only we could do an edit of that now, just like try to get him, like cut out individual Tim Curry lines from other movies that somehow make up all of her dialogue, and then superimpose his face on.
Well, she doesn't really have that much dialogue, ultimately.
Oh no, not really. Oh.
The trickiest thing to get would be the words Morris Day.
But what else happens then? I'm trying to think.
Hey, Apollonia is Apollo. Is that right, Dale?
Yeah.
And Apollo 13 was directed by Ron Howard. You know what other film was directed by Ron Howard?
Oh, Splash! Oh my God, this all ties together.
Oh my God.
These movies are the perfect double feature. I'm really going to make a case for this.
I will say also, in a weird thing, Ron Howard brought in mid-shoot to fix Solo. Albert Magnoli brought in mid-shoot to fix Tango and Cash, apparently, years down the line. So it's like, it totally ties together, this whole thing. This wasn't a completely stupid idea that we shouldn't have started in the front. I mean, the podcast itself, arguably, yes, that's still, the jury's still out in that one. But this particular, let's review all Prince's movies thing, this is a genius idea. I'm still standing by that.
Of course.
And it's totally apt for the show. Totally apt.
Yep.
Then, I suppose then we do get the kind of culmination of the film's darknesses that we discover then Prince goes home at one point and finds that his dad has shot himself. Mm-hmm. And I remember this was the point when I was watching this, because I, again, had memories of this being like a really flamboyant, silly, like, anger-inducing, but still silly vanity project. And then when I was in the middle of all this stuff, I was like, oh man, I've really like I've asked these people to watch like a really dark movie and then come on and been like,
Is that what you messaged us? Was it that scene?
It was literally that scene. I was like, I'm sorry that I've asked you to do this because this is a really depressing scene.
We've made it work, man.
Yeah, and it's because the fact that he's taken away to the hospital, and then the next scene is like Prince kind of going to bits, and and then like considering
the Sam Raimi sequence.
Yeah, but he's all like considering suicide and stuff. I was like, oh man, this is like. Maybe these two will think like I thought all this was really funny as well, and it's like we should come on and talk about the stupid, like the Prince's dad shooting himself bit and all this.
Yeah, and Prince looking at the rope that he's going to hang himself with.
But so I do still formally apologize to both of you for making you endure the darkness of the inherently within this film.
I was interning at a development studio. I was asked to watch what is regarded as the most disturbing movie of all time, and
which is
it's a Spirit
really
Stallion of the Cimarron, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's disturbing because it disturbs you from your complacency.
I like the way he just said yes. I don't know if he heard what you said.
I did, and I responded just now. And it was really good.
Ooh.
When you listen back on the podcast, this is going to be your favorite moment, Dale. It's called a Serbian film.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've heard of this. I can't watch it from the description.
And don't. Like, it's not even like a thing I have. Like, I'm... Like, I like doing really dumb stuff, and I'm very self-sabotaging. So if someone's like, this thing will mess you up, I'm like, let's do it. Let's just get in a car and go there. Not this one. And so I had to watch this movie that is so disturbing, like, so genuinely horrific and, like, broke my soul that... I sat there for 2 hours watching essentially snuff, and then I walked out and I was like, well, okay, I watched the movie. Why did I have to do that? And then the producer I was working for said, oh, how's the photography? We're talking to the DP. And I was like, that's all you cared about? I didn't have to actually watch it? Like, I could have just skipped to like shots and tell you how that looked? Like, I was so upset.
You were tortured for no reason.
Yeah.
That's yeah, absolutely.
And then you had to watch Purple Rain, which was like...
And then as a palate cleanser.
Yeah. And this film was even... That'd be great if this was your week of just like, I watched 3 movies. Solo, Purple Rain, and a Serbian story.
Serbian film.
A Serbian film, sorry.
And let me tell you, Solo really screwed me up.
A Serbian solo. But Morris Day, I was going to say, his character gets even worse here at this point because he knows about Prince's dad, who has
before now he's just been slimy and a scumbag and not a good dude. But this is the point where I think he becomes a proper like villain.
Yeah, because he finds out about Prince's dad, who I think at this point we know he's survived, but he still might die. Yeah, he's in the hospital, and Morris Day just walks past him and goes, "How's the family?" And everyone bursts out laughing. It's like, what the hell?
It's even more built up because, like, the time they go out to perform the Bird and they nail it, obviously.
That's the worst song in the movie.
What?
I cannot stand. That was the worst scene in the film that wasn't the
oh
other one. Oh
my god! What the are you talking about? That song is amazing. I think that's it. All right.
Never want to hear it again.
Oh, but the thing is. Birthday karaoke next week, John. I'm putting down the Bird, and I'm going to make sure you're in there so you can goddamn hear it. And I'm going to make you rehearse the dance moves with me. And that's it. Now you condemn yourself to your own personal hell just by having an opinion.
You piece of crap.
But anyway, they're up on stage, and then they come back, and then they're doing a mockery of "Let's Get Crazy." By going like, let's get crazy. And it's like, that's a pretty good song. Like, why are you just singing the lyrics in that voice? That's enough to mock it? It's like, what's your critique of the song exactly? But yeah, he does do the whole like, oh, how's the family? And then walks off. But the thing is, like, afterwards, again, 15 years of me going, that Morris Day, what a dick. He mocks him and his friggin' family. He's like falling apart. It does cut to him afterwards in the corridor, and it looks as if he really regrets what he says. And he does have a moment of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then later on, when they're performing Baby I'm a Star, Morris is in the crowd cheering him on. So it's kind of like, he does, much like Prince himself, never has to actually apologize. But he does apparently come around. You're supposed to be inferred that he's like, nah, he felt bad. And
You know what the best character development is? It's just a U-turn. I like that. Where it's just like, oh, that was not on. Like, that's the best character development for me. It's not like someone finally makes a decision. It's just like they get to a point where they're just like, actually, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But yeah, the thing is though, because it kind of redeems him. The rest of the time, they were all laughing. Jerome was laughing at it. So at the end of it, it's like, oh no, Jerome, and the rest of the time they're all just flat out assholes. And Morris Day, apparently, that was the one bit where he's like, actually, I do feel a little bit bad about that. But then, of course, we'll see the renewed rivalry between Morris Day and the Kid in Graffiti Bridge down the line. So let's see how long this lasts.
There's a sequel?
Oh yes, Dale, there is a sequel. You don't have to
I'm
cover it.
surprised enough that there were multiple Prince films. I didn't think that they would be like a sequential story.
The thing is, like, not to get into spoilers for our next episode, but you see, like, everything. We're like, me and John been saying, and Omar just saying, like, what makes Purple Rain palatable is that, like, Prince is such an abhorrent character, but there is at least a reason for why he's so bad. The next movie, Under the Cherry Moon, take all that out and then just leave everything else still there. That's Under the Cherry Moon. Let's say no spoilers for the next episode, but it might be the best movie that we're ever going to talk about.
Don't tell me that, man. I haven't watched it.
But yeah, then we do get. Oh, this is the bizarre thing now, because this is leading up to the big climactic moment of the movie. And it's bizarre because this is like nearly a 2-hour movie, and I timed it. This is an hour and 20 minutes in, so the next 40 minutes, it's all just songs and credits.
You could probably cut most of that. Let's.
Yeah, totally.
I think I did.
I
skipped through, making sure that no more story was happening.
Hold on.
You
Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Was I listening right? Right, Kingsmill, you skipped through bits.
No, I skipped through the end. I skipped through the last 20 minutes that was songs.
But they're the best bits because the music's
No,
amazing.
they're not. It's a whole movie of songs, all right? They're fine. They're fine every now and then. But then when you get just a solid wall of them for the last 40 minutes of the film, which has some bits of plot sprinkled throughout, and then you figure out that, wait, no, the girl and him are back together. We've dealt with, Sparks over here in the slow zoom, and we've got the villain, and so everything with the plot is done. So I just skimmed through the end of it, and it was all sung.
In your guys' English classes, in your literature classes, did you do the same thing where, like, you felt like Great Expectations? You're like, oh, it wasn't Havisham, got it, and then you just like blew through the rest of like Great Expectations. You're just like page by page.
Look, I see what you're trying to get at, but actually, yes. If it was a boring book, yes.
So the other example
I didn't finish Lady Chatterley's Lover. That was terrible.
The other example I was going to do was as in theater, and I was going to be like, Dale, do you like get up before like the cast comes out to like bow? But then I did see a Romeo and Juliet where you didn't, but you really wanted to. And
man, I'm telling you, Antony and Cleopatra by that same company was even worse. I nearly did it. I have opinions with capital O.
I have a friend though. It's not out of him having opinions, but I've got a friend. And he's just like, as soon as he gets the hint that the film might be ending, he's just like, all right, and just walks away. I remember watching The King of Kong with him, and there's a fake out at the end of that where you're kind of led to believe as if like, oh, Billy Mitchell has won. And then he was just like, oh yeah, well, I'll see ya. And I was like, Dave, come back! There's an entire other scene to come here. And he's like, later on, he's like, oh yeah, that documentary. He's like, you didn't see the end of the documentary. You have no idea how that ended. It's like you just walked away because it faded to black.
I'll feel bad about skimming through the music at the end of Purple Rain if there was an after credits scene.
Well, the thing is, it's Samuel L. Jackson shows up, and he's just like,
it's. Purple Rain is the first movie to introduce the Infinity Stones.
And that's how Prince becomes a vigilante samurai riding a motorbike.
It's the Prince cinematic universe.
It is the Prince cinematic universe. It's the vocabulary we speak. But I was going to mention the fact that I love the spaces they create in this movie with the lighting and how the purple is just it looks like a Talking Heads concert. It's so good. It's just like there's so much color everywhere at all times, where they probably had to fill that venue would smoke. That's the only way they could do it, to like make it like just a wall of purple. But there's so much purple, and then I noticed there was also like yellow, and then in my mind I started to form like, okay, Power Stone, great. Then there's the Mind Gem, that's the yellow, and then I was looking for colors, and I was just like making the Infinity War story fit into Purple Rain, and it was amazing. Because
I am on board.
Because one of the main tracks, when Gamora says to Star-Lord, "Take my hand, Peter," that's, I believe, Black Tears is the name of the Brian Tyler track, and Black Tears, they're trying to get the Purple Stone, which is a Power Stone. Tears, rain,
Okay.
like in Blade Runner.
Stretch. Go back
To what? Which part?
to not saying it.
Rewind.
I don't
Also,
think any of us can do that.
the other film that Omar watched this week was Infinity War. So.
Yeah. In between.
Wasn't as good as this, but you know.
But yeah, we do get then this whole final performance of the song "Purple Rain." It's a whole other can of worms in itself, because at the beginning, right, they come out and we get the lackluster like, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the revolution." It's like, oh, it's gonna get the crowd going, and well, they come out, and then Prince says like, "Well, I'm dedicating the song to my father." And it's like, I think you might want to dedicate it to your mother, who's been like getting beaten up by your dad the whole time, and it's like, I don't know about dedicating it to him.
And then he says it was written by Wendy and Lisa.
Yeah.
And I get it, but also I'm like, maybe they should get to choose who they dedicate their song that they wrote to.
He hasn't learned all his lessons. He still has more movies to make.
But even like,
That's true. That's true.
That's all. That's true. But then it's like they would need to rehearse this song. But then there's a look on Wendy's face of like, we're gonna perform.
Surprise!
Yeah, she's like, oh, we're gonna perform our song, and it's like they would need to have rehearsed that like dozens of times. You can't just spring on them.
Surely.
Oh, by the way, we're performing a new song. Band, you know what to do. It's like, no, they would.
Dr. Creepy and White Prince in the background are just miming playing their instruments because they don't know the song.
Dr. Creepy.
I love White Prince. That's the best description, because it is like a cheap
He's
costume
even got
of
the
Prince.
thin little mustache.
Yeah. It reminds me of like David Bowie's band when they were the Spiders from Mars. The way, I mean, great musicians and everything, but they all tried to look like David Bowie. They tried to dress like him and be glam and like effeminate, and it just didn't work for any of them but David.
Yeah.
And I think he knew that and didn't care. He's like, well, you can look stupid. I'll look amazing. It's the same with Prince. He's like, well, the worse you look, the better I look.
Can I say the best part in this movie, the very best thing, second place goes to Prince turning around after realizing the crowd is still cheering and the waitress is there crying with her dog. That's
Yes.
great. But the best part is when during these final performances, Prince kisses Wendy or Lisa on the cheek.
Yes.
And she has this look on her face like, what are you doing?
Oh, she
Like,
is.
She's so unhappy.
Yeah, she's full on repulsed, and it's like that's the thing is because it's near the end of Purple Rain. It's during the big guitar solo he does that, and it's like this performance. This is the official video for Purple Rain, and so that no matter you never need to see this movie, but if you ever see that video, there's a bit where Prince kisses Wendy, and she just look like. And it's even the build-up, because he's kind of standing a bit too close to her, and she's giving him the eye of, like, what are you doing? What are you going to do? And then he pecks her in the cheek, and she's just like, ugh, what the hell? And she's absolutely repulsed by this man. And it's amazing, because apparently they've tried to spin it in the press, where, like, the directors and stuff are saying, like, they were so emotional performing it, and they were both crying, and that's why she looks like that. And it's like, my ass, she just didn't want him coming near her. That's what that is. And there's no other way you can interpret that look. That's clearly a look of sheer repulsion. And I love it.
See, I thought that it was really good acting. I thought that was Wendy still being really mad at the kid and like, we're not okay. We're not friends.
Yeah, because that is the kid. That's his attempt at an apology, isn't it? Basically, like, just give her a little peck on the cheek. It'll be all right.
It's like, okay, you get to touch me. All right.
Yeah, I'll let you.
It's my gift. My gift to you is my lips will touch your face. And she's like, that's not Also, you're welcome. We wrote the song.
Saved your career by the look of things.
We saved the band. You get nothing. You're
And
out.
potentially saved his life.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that the actual song as well, like, again, there's so many, like, just this one performance is just like, there's so much still back here for me personally. It's because it's like, he goes in this rip-roaring guitar solo, and like, I have to say, like, this song is terrific. Like, this is kind of Prince's seminal song. It's like, I understand that. It's an amazing tune. But, as it's presenting in the movie, it's like, yeah, Wendy and Lisa wrote this demo. And then, did they write that guitar solo? Did they write the lyrics? Did he make up these lyrics to go to Apollonia? And then they're just like, we didn't write any. Like, when they're where they like write this song and then slip it, just call it like Purple something, because he loves purple. He never shuts up about it. He's always wearing purple. So like, if we call it Purple something, even though it makes no sense, like Purple Rain, what the hell is that? He'll love it because it's got purple in the title. Or what's going on? Because like, again, they shouldn't even be able to play this. They should be like Wendy and Lisa should be able to play the demo version of it because they wrote it. But it's like, everything else is like, when does the song end? When does it like, he's doing a whole different, melody with his voice, and it's like, what point are we supposed to break for? What doesn't make any sense?
An excellent question. But he makes up for it with legitimately some of the best damn dancing I've ever seen.
Oh, so even though before we even get to that, because then again, I have to point out just I will say that the kiss of Wendy may be my favorite moment, but it's a tough one between that and Billy Sparks looking at him and giving him the little like, he's still.
You did good, kid.
He did it.
Plus, there's a slow pan over the crowd, and they're all doing the waving bit, and then Prince says that he does that bit where he's kind of hammering, because he's only got one hand on the guitar, so he's hammering the guitar solo with one hand. It was like, that's insanely impressive. And then he does that weird thing where he says something I can never make out, where he's just like, people raise their hands. And it's like, what was any of that? And then it pans across the crowd, and they're all waving, and there's two people. There's a guy who looks like, and it can't be because it was 1984 and Ghostbusters was out, a guy who looks like a teenage Ernie Hudson is just front and center of the frame. And then behind him, It looks like a new wave goth Patricia Arquette. And every time I see it, I'm always like, I know that's not Ernie Hudson, but that could be Patricia Arquette right behind him.
Well, if you look very carefully, in his hand is a glowing green gem, which means he traveled through time to go see this amazing concert. And also checked on his career.
But he's just like, I know that this is the best Prince ever gets. Like, this is the thing. Apparently, not only is Apollonia forgiven him and Billy Sparks, but the crowd has forgiven him for whatever. Like, they're like, oh no, even though this song's about as good as the rest of the songs he's playing, this is the one. This is the one that we all love this. And yeah, he does that thing. He storms off the stage then, as if like, that was it. It's like, so is this a one?
It's the end of my career.
Yeah, but even then, it's just because, like, again, before the time played, there was a band, and then there's the time, and then there's like, so is it a one set night or one song night? Like, why is this whole thing, this whole movie, so many questions. But yes, then we do get apparently the crowd is calling out for more, and he does. Yeah. He's called back to the stage, and then we get that was the song that's just called "I Would Die for You," isn't it? Latouche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we got a double bill of that and "Baby I'm a Star," which of course long-term listeners to the show will remember that "Baby I'm a Star" was the temp track for the parade scene in. Yep. 1989 Batman movie that was originally filmed with that where Trust is playing in the movie. Apparently it was originally Tim Burton wanted "Baby I'm a Star," and then Prince said, "Nah, I wrote this song for you instead." And then Tim Burton went, "Nah," and then they had to compromise by getting Trust. And that was I guess maybe because
imagine if Robert Zemeckis and Huey Lewis had that problem where it's just like it's Power of Love, and he's like, No, it's not. It's going to be it's going to be Time Saves Us All, and they just argued back and forth.
Apparently Prince was like that, though. 'Cause I know, again, Kevin Smith doesn't tell the story of, like, when he got roped into doing that documentary for him, he went and asked him for the rights to the most beautiful girl in the world, because he wanted that or something. I think he wanted something like that, but he's just like, Prince was like, no, but I'll give you like the rights to a song by the time, and then I want you to make a documentary for me. And it's like, why not just give him everything he what? And even
Is that why Jane Silent Bob Strike Back? Is that the meta joke behind it at the end?
I guess so. Yeah, that must be a reference to that. But
Because the time performed, right? And it's like Kevin Smith like jumps out. I believe it's Kevin Smith, and he's like, "Hey, everyone."
But again, could it be though? I remember talking about this with the host of Prince Track by Track, like Darren Houston, and he said that he believes that Prince probably just didn't want any song affiliated with Purple Rain to be going into other movies, because like, the Purple Rain soundtrack's for that, so you can't have that be synonymous with another movie. Much like as if he foresaw the problems that the people who made Mystery Men would have when they had Smash Mouth way before Shrek did, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh yeah, All Star, the song from Shrek," and the people who made Mystery Men are like, "No way, that was our song. That was our spin-off single."
The one that really weirded me out was Spirit in the Sky is a pretty big song in Guardians of the Galaxy. And it makes sense because they're in space. And then a movie that was ripping off a lot of the aesthetic from Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, when they're flying into, I forget, Bedlam or Bloodhaven or wherever the movie actually takes place, if it ever did take place outside of my fever dream.
I wish it didn't.
I wish it didn't. They also played Spirit in the Sky, and I was just like, yeah, you can't take a song from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, you just can't, like, if they just, like, ended it with, like, Jackson 5, I'd be like, no, you this is too blatant. Like, you can't do that.
Maybe they're like, we're being meta. Yeah, it's cool to do that.
My problem with Suicide Squad is every song in it was just like, this is just so obvious. It's like everything. It's just like, it's every single song. It's like, why? Couldn't you have put a bit more effort into thinking of an original tune? But like, no.
And they did
House of the Rising Sun.
They only,
Well, in this, as I say, Prince does the best dancing of all time, and he invents twerking, and then he quite clearly uses his guitar as a penis.
Yes.
At the very end. There's no other way to read that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that part I did watch. And let me tell you, cutting out the dancing, just jumping into penis guitar with no context, that was a choice I made.
It reminded me of a live Rammstein video I've seen where he just whips out a fake penis and is shooting the crowd with fluids.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were you at that Gore gig, John? I think that might have been.
I was not.
Yeah, that same thing happened. Like me, it was like, oh no, it was before. I think it was before I met you. I knew, it was like your girlfriend, your long-term girlfriend. I knew her before I knew John, and I think we went to, amongst other people, went to see Gore playing, and they had a thing where they brought out a giant penis and sprayed the crowd with a fake. I'm hoping it was fake spunk, basically.
Well, now Prince does the same thing.
See, this is why I don't go to concerts.
Just in case that you.
That makes sense. That's fair.
And the thing is, I would say, like, I was wearing like a waistcoat and everything. I was not prepared for what Gore was. I had no idea going in. This was like 2000.
Oh no.
2007. So I didn't have a ready access to a laptop because I just didn't get into computers and stuff till like way later on. Only found out what a podcast was like last year. So
was that something to do with me as well?
I think it was like I was having a lot of. I had to go into the whole reason why I got into the podcast, but like
yeah, let's that'll be another hour on this show.
But Gore spunked on us. That was the point of that story. So
I will say, Wilco concerts are the literal opposite of that. It is absolutely has nothing to do with any ejaculatory motions at all. Everyone just sits down. It's just quiet. We just kind of think for a bit. You can go for a walk if you want. And that all retreats
back into your body.
Yeah, exactly. Everything goes farther in, and it's nice. And then you go home, and then you talk to your friends about it.
The thing is, every other concert is in between. It's like it's Wilco, Gore, and every other show. It could be quiet and introspective, or they could call
like
out.
Weezer, what a toss-up! What a toss-up. We don't know which one it's going to play.
Yeah, at any given time, they could just take out a penis cannon, and it'll ease your show, and you're like, all right, this is happening.
I mean, Rivers Kumo, that wouldn't be unbelievable. Listening to Pinkerton,
I could
that
buy
would not
that,
be
yeah.
unbelievable.
With how he is these days, yeah. He's gone. He's lost his mind. Let's be honest.
Who's been to Beverly Hills? Here's a penis cannon. Like, yep, that's all right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for Blue Album.
I mean, if anything shows he's lost his mind, I think Raditude possibly summed that up the most. But Prince has no time for that because he goes straight into the most 80s way of ending a movie, a freeze frame.
Yes.
A sparkly freeze frame around his own
That
head.
freeze frame holds for so long.
And you scrubbed through
Look at
it.
how beautiful. Yes.
And then we get goes into end credits, which, and I will state my reputation on it, I'm fairly certain look identical to the end credits of Gremlins 2, the new batch. So
Oh my god.
it's that same shade of blue. It's that same font.
I can't believe it. That's amazing.
I was like, Joe Dante was like, I'm
Well-
so into Purple Rain, but we wanted like a Prince Gremlin, we couldn't work it in. So in my homage was, I'm going to have the end credits be identical to the end credits of Purple Rain.
They watched Gremlins 2 and they were like, this is our Purple Rain.
Although, like, knowing how like litigious Prince was, he watched Gremlins 2. He's like, "What the hell? You can't do that." She's like, "I want your credits cut. No one's gonna know who worked in that movie." I was like, "Who played Zach Galligan in this thing? We'll never know."
I think Prince is going to sue this podcast from beyond the grave.
Yes.
Constantly living in fear of like just Prince's people landing on us, been like, "You talked about him. That's it. Like you mentioned them in the main body of your show."
There are so many, like Dale's thing is werewolves minus ghosts, and I would be so excited to hang out with ghosts from the past, except if Prince's ghost popped up, I'd be like, oh, what did I do? Like that would absolutely be my reaction of just like, this,
Be worried.
this won't be a fun conversation. Do
Would you
want to
turn down hanging out with ghosts from the future?
No, okay, I'm going to answer your question directly.
Good.
Yes, I would turn down hanging out with ghosts from the future because I would prefer to be the ghost hanging out with live people in the future.
Whoa.
Okay, but I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think that both of those can happen. Like, I feel like you didn't answer my question directly. You just answered a different question.
Hold on, wait, I'm confused. No, because I'm here.
No, because I said, no.
Wait,
You
hold
said,
on. No,
I
'cause-
would love to hang out with ghosts from the past.
Yes.
And I said, would you turn down hanging out with ghosts from the future? And you said, I would love to be a ghost in the future.
Because I will be.
Right, but that's a different question.
Right. I
I
can't.
didn't ask you about your ghostly status.
No, ghosts don't. No, that wouldn't work. I can't. That's time travelers.
Okay,
That's
no,
not a
but,
ghost.
excuse me, A Christmas Carol, Ghost of Christmas Future, alright?
The idea.
Ghosts
it's not.
from
No, it's
the
not
future.
ghost of.
Ghosts
no, it's not.
from
I'm a ghost
the future.
from Christmas
You specified ghosts from
2037.
the past yourself. You're the one who introduced a timeliness for ghosts. And so I was like, well, if he's hanging out with ghosts from the past, then there must be ghosts from the future.
I think this podcast will age very well in my favor, and my answer was right. I will be a ghost in the future, and that's as far as I can take it. I'm sorry. Next
I
question.
don't care whether you'll be a ghost in the future. That's not the question I asked you, Omar.
There can't be future ghosts. That's just time travelers. They're
Then
not
why
ghosts.
would you specify ghosts from the past?
Because
yeah.
they could also be from fiction
What?
Or the present?
or the present.
If they're fictional, then they can't be.
That is, I think, a much bigger conversation. So this title sequence, I really like this title
And
sequence.
no, you can't have ghosts from the present because if they're a ghost, then they've already died. So they're from
But
the
they're a
past.
present ghost.
It's a present ghost.
Right,
the
but
ghost
they're
of
not
Christmas
from
present.
the present, though, are they? They're not from the present.
The thing is, have you seen the film Just Like Heaven with Mark Ruffalo and
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon? Where Reese Witherspoon is in a coma, but she's also a ghost. So,
Yeah, that's a present ghost.
yeah, so...
All right, but also a fictional ghost, so she doesn't exist. But All right, I'll give you that point. That sounds very exciting. That would be a great.
Also, and a weird tie-in, and a thing I had to go research, and it turned out to lead nowhere, but the producer of this movie was called Joseph Ruffalo. And apparently, he has no relation to Mark Ruffalo. So, that's...
Devastated.
What a waste.
We always get 1 degree away from 13 going on 30, and it just fails. It falls apart. We always get so close.
Oh man, if you want to just do a special talking about 13 going on 30, by all means, I'll think like Mark Ruffalo's wearing a Talking Heads t-shirt, and it's like saw that, I was like instantly my favorite film. This is like, oh, I love everything about this now just by that t-shirt, and also by how charming Jennifer Garner is in it. But
She's gonna have a renaissance. That's what I read on Twitter earlier today.
I think she's been.
I believe it.
She's been doing like really good work, but it's been very low key. It's like she's been every time I see Jennifer Garner.
Like Jennifer Garner.
Oh yeah, every time she's in something, I'm always like everything except Alias. I thought Alias I wasn't that fussed by as a show, but every time I see Jennifer Garner in anything, it's usually like it's like, oh, she's really
Electra, good. It's like this is better for having Jennifer Garner.
I agree.
And it's just like even like Juno and all that stuff. It's like she's a really terrific actress.
She's great.
So I hope that there's a.
I like this little shrine to Jennifer Garner at the end of our Prince tour.
Yes, very relevant.
Yep. The big takeaway.
At the end of the movie about a guy who smacks around his girlfriend, let's talk about how good Jennifer Garner is, because
we should probably wrap up and say whether we would recommend the movie or not. I mean, I personally feel like yes, I would recommend this movie. I think it's interesting. I think it's got good music. Prince is an okay actor. There's a complex story going on. It's very strange the way the love story completely disappears in the last third of the film, but okay.
Oh, it is bizarre, yeah, that there's no climax between him and Apollonia. It's like they kind of bump into each other in the corridor, and it's way back out to perform. And then during
it's all the steady state world.
And it's always that kind of like... She just gives him like the little fingers during like I would die for you, and it's like I'm pretty sure he might kill you, but like
you know what that lack of a climax between the two of them reminds me of though, weirdly, La La Land.
Yeah, although I have a little pearl in my shoe about that ending, because it's the same ending of the film. It's like mainly getting inspiration from the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I can't pronounce French, and I'll never pronounce French. But the French opera movie that's like really colorful and has like the yellow and blue and pink thing going on. And at the end, they have the scene in the gas station, and then in La La Land they just have the same scene. But there's no. It's more dramatic in the French one. It's a lot more dramatic because you're just like, this is all. It hurts to exist. Whereas in La La Land, you're like,
French.
And they're French, and you're just like, ugh. I'm just kidding. I'm not, but we don't need to go further into that.
That sounds like you hate the French.
Me?
Yeah, the way that you said it made it sound like you hate the French.
Oh, don't ever accuse me of that in public, Dale. That's really not. That's not a discussion that should happen outside of our private conversations.
Yes, certainly not on the air.
Yeah, absolutely not on the air.
That's gonna be the thing, though. Like as soon as this is over, it's like private message between Dale and Omar. It's like, of course I hate the French. What the hell?
But they can't know that. They can't know that.
Well, you may hate the French, but would you recommend this movie?
I might not be some big city, Sydney University English major myself.
I didn't go to Sydney University, Omar. That's where the rich kids go.
Yeah, oh, well, this whole thing backfired on me then with that specific detail. But I, as someone who has a film theory degree, would absolutely recommend it because it's just so quintessentially and freeform 80s and is so loosey-goosey in a really nice, refreshing way with the way that it's directed and cut together, but all works. It's not like it's like a bad movie in the sense that it is just like sloppy and like there's like parts of Man of Steel where like the sound mix is just bad and like Cal is talking and then there's like crickets that are too loud. I'm like, what is he saying? I don't know what he's saying. Like they don't have any of that. Like they get all the things they need to get down, and that gives them room to play with like lighting and just do music sequences and long takes, just really long takes where they're just tracking Prince back and forth and just letting him perform. So for stuff like that, I am, yeah, I 100% gets a recommendation. But I would check in with the person afterwards. Just to be like, hey, so just so you know, I'm not saying like everything should be like this. What did you think?
Okay, just on the subject of Omar coming at it from the angle of, I'm a film major. Just the other day, I pulled up the receipts while he was talking. Just the other day, I asked him, what are the cardinal rules of filmmaking? What makes a movie good?
Yep.
And he said, how do you mean? Because I'm a film theory kid, so my honest answer is there are none. Which...
First of all, not tone. We haven't talked with our voices until this podcast.
That's what it's like being friends with Omar and talking about movies.
I will say a quick thing. This is one of my favorite things to say. No, one of my favorite things to say about a film is to ask people where film exists. But my favorite thing when people are just like, this movie was bad, if they just like saw Rogue One or something, like it's just a bad movie or whatever. Like a movie's not like a toaster has a function, and if a toaster takes bread and just only gives you bread back, it's not a good toaster. It just doesn't work. But a film, as long as you experience something that ties sounds and picture together, and that's even being a little conservative because it could just be picture, then it's done its thing. And all you can do is just talk about how you feel about it.
All you can say about it then is that it is a film. That doesn't mean it's a good film. Like a toaster can toast bread but give it to you burnt, and that doesn't mean it's done a good job.
It toasted it.
Yeah, it toasted it, but it didn't do a good job.
I would disagree just on the basis of my dad's really English and I really like burnt toast. So that might be a little hard of a comparison.
I think the honest answer is that you would disagree on the basis that you and I can never agree on anything, or the universe will implode.
I completely disagree with that.
See, this is the thing. Like, I kind of thought, like, oh, we'll get Dael and Omar on because like they argue on Twitter, but I know it's all in fun. And now it's just been like, oh no, they seem to like constantly be at each other's throats the whole time. This was like, if they were in the same room, the blood would have been drawn by now.
There was a life threat on my life earlier this morning. I will just put it that way.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's how you know you're true friends.
Yeah.
Would I recommend this film? You know what? If you want to have an opinion on it, watch it. Don't take my word for it. But also, like, if you want to have a good time and spend 2 hours watching a movie, there are better movies to choose. If you love the songs of Prince, you will get to hear them.
I will ask Dael, because you said you like skip bits, at the end during the big musical performances.
When I say that, I literally just mean like after Purple Rain, after he goes back on the stage, when it's just the encore songs, I just like cut through every 30 seconds to see if it was done yet. But go on.
I just wanted to ask though, like, as just a soundtrack, like as the musical performances, if you took everything else about, like, were you a fan of the songs at least, or were you like, no, all of this was bad?
Okay, here's what I'll say about that, is that I liked a lot of them. Anyone who knows me knows that my weak spot is music. Like, at a trivia night, music comes up, I'm useless. I know nothing. So, there were a lot of songs in there where I was like, wow, this is a jam. Because I've heard, like, bits of Prince before. And, I knew that he was good. And so there were a lot of songs in there that I was like, yeah, this is great. This is a great song. The dance is magnificent. This is awesome. But also, I did pull up the receipts against Omar just then, so I'll pull up the receipts against me from last night. This is just after I finished watching the movie. If I can find it. I basically sent him a message that just says, I've just heard Purple Rain for the first time. It's not that good. That was my response to the movie. So...
That's your response to the.
That's
your response to the song as well.
Also, When Doves Cry isn't that good either. So it's weird to me that those are the two Prince songs that I had heard of beforehand.
There are better songs, yeah.
Oh yeah, but my favorite Prince song is in this movie, but it's neither of those two. Like, but I will say, like, When Doves Cry, like, I think it is a good tune. Purple Rain's amazing. I think that is a fantastic song, but. Oh, I mean, to each his own, or to each her own.
It's fine. It's fine. I just feel like there was a lot of build-up both in society and life and in the movie specifically.
Yeah. plus you're coming at it at a time now, like after Prince's death, so it's kind of like everything he does.
I think my
like,
favorite song in it was the opening song.
oh, Let's Get Crazy. Yeah,
It's great.
That's a tune.
It's also got those more questionable Prince lyrics because it's got that bit like, was it like slip on the purple banana until they put us in the truck? Like, oh, do you get can you get purple bananas? Is that a thing? And then I just kind of realized, like, wait, no, it's Prince. This is a sex thing, isn't it? It's another goddamn sex thing, Prince. Can you get your mind off it for 2 damn seconds?
Definitely.
You go to Tesco's and you're just like, hello, I'm looking for a particular brand of banana.
Purple banana, if you will.
That is what I do when I visit any Tesco. I go in and go, hello. And then
Good day. I would like the non-refrigerated milk. That's a specific American going to England joke for me.
You've got to do that voice, or they don't understand you, do they? Now?
No.
Although people don't realize this podcasting voice, as hard as it is for people to understand, this isn't my real voice. This isn't what I sound like. If you met me in real life, you wouldn't think by the tone of my voice it was the same person. I keep getting constant stick from my family. It's like, why don't you talk like you normally talk? It's because people won't understand me if I do.
Just me, I think. But would you recommend the movie?
Would I recommend the movie? After 15 years of saying that this was one of the worst films I ever seen, having rewatched it, I would say, yeah, I think I would. I think I'd say, like, again, you know, not to get into anything too serious, but Dael did bring up some very, very good, arguments about all the stuff about the abusive nature of Prince, and that is all abhorrent, and his character is inherently unlikable because of that. But I think the film does at least attempt to address it. Like, you're supposed to know that these things are bad that he's doing. So, and then you're supposed to see, like, there's some sort of redemption. And then you're
supposed to want to change him.
Yeah. But I do now see that there is a bit of, like, whereas I previously had viewed it as, like, a flamboyant, stupid, overblown, like, vanity project, I now see it's like, no, it's actually like, it's an attempt there of a movie is actually about this guy's upbringing, as ridiculous as the presentation is, a guy in a cycle of abuse and him kind of seeing the error of his ways and trying to, and again, it's not perfect, but I think it's interesting. Watch it for the songs at least. And just Morris Day, because I just think he's...
Or just listen to the songs. You can buy an album.
Oh, no, I think you need to see the videos. Like, you need to see those dance moves and stuff as well. Like, so...
Oh, no, I'd recommend seeing them.
It's not good enough to be good, and it's not bad enough to be bad, and it's not deep enough to be deep. It's just there. It's just a movie with lots of things that happen, none of which mean much.
I will say, if a movie is really not good and has nothing to contribute to society, we wouldn't have 2 hours to talk about it. You know what I mean?
True.
We've talked now longer.
I think we set aside time to talk about it before we watched the movie. I think that we were destined.
No, that's not. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you'll inevitably talk about it. No, I don't mean that. I mean, we've talked about it for 2 hours because there's so much in the movie. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but there's 2 hours in the movie. So even if you just described everything that was happening on screen, you would get 2 hours worth of content.
We've barely scratched the surface.
We haven't even gotten into it.
Okay, so everyone, we can break for lunch now, and then we'll come back and start the real analysis of the
And then
film.
we'll start. Yeah.
I will say one last thing. I mean, love it or hate it, the music to me is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think this is... I've said it before on the main show. I think the Purple Rain album is the best pop record, if you want to call it pop. It's kind of all genres, ever. I think it's up there. Well, if not the best, it's in like the top 5, without a doubt. I've got it on vinyl. I'd recommend everybody at least buy the album. It's
so hard to pinpoint the album. I guess you'd call it pop, but then I know that you did a little bit of research. Apparently, the song "Purple Rain" was originally written as a country song, and it was supposed to be for a duet with Stevie Nicks. And then she just went like, "No, I can't do this. This is way. I don't understand what you're doing." And it's just like, and then they turn it into this. It's like, and everything about it is like, well, what is "Purple Rain" the song? Is it like a? I've seen the write up of like, oh yeah, it's like a pop gospel thing, and like. Is it gospel? It's so much going on, and all the songs. It's a bit like, you could say that at least that's a testament to the genius of Prince. and that's what makes the kid redeemable in some people's eyes. But, and not the hint to the next episode we'll be airing after this one, and probably the one after that as well. And much to leave on the note of, like, Purple Rain, the film's been redeemed in my eyes. That might only be because I've seen what Prince did next on screen, and that is stuff that is irredeemable. So
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
So on that note, I'll say, like, this is, fortunately, Dael and Omar, you have to get off the Prince ride at this point, but to me and John, it's all down into the depths.
Before you is the valley, yeah.
Well, before we do go into that dark, I don't want to say night, dark abyss, I believe it sounds like, would you guys like to fight it out to tell our listeners where they can find you online and all your works?
Omar can go first.
How about we do it for each other?
Okay. I need to look up where your podcasts are. So you go first.
No, we can't. No, we can't look anything up.
We can't look anything up because it's happening. You go first. I promise. I swear to you that I will not look it up.
Okay, I don't trust you still. Hi, I'm Omar. If you want to find stuff that Dael does, you can visit youtube.com/monarchsfactory, where her videos are blowing up right now. Check out all her D&D stuff. It's hugely popular for a very good reason. And so that's a lot of fun stuff. And also she has an amazing, I'll say my favorite web series right now, and I'm currently directing and acting in one myself, called Wolfgang, which you should check out. It's really good. It's such a brilliant idea where during the actual full moons that we experience here on Earth, there are werewolves that just hang out and wake up from their like werewolf hangover and deal with problems. And it's really, really good. Check that out. If you want to check out stuff on Instagram, go to instagram.com/DaelDaily and Monarch's Factory on Twitter, where she posts jokes about pigs wearing shoes. And Balto. I think that was the most recent one.
He was so close. My Twitter handle is @DailyDale.
It's okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, I've never consolidated any of my branding. I'm different on every single platform. See, that's the true horror of trying to do my plugs.
You don't tweet daily, though. That's
I tweet
we'll
pretty
have this
daily.
discussion later.
I reply to people on the daily.
Yeah.
I tweet a lot.
I'm
known amongst my friends.
You go. I'm gonna contact your manager right now.
Looking at your Twitter right now, because I did lie.
Hello, Merle. Yeah, hello.
You tweet
Merle,
I
want to talk about your client.
A day. I can't find any specific thank you for questing tweets, but we'll work it out. So this is Omar Najam, and he is prolific on the internet. So you can find him doing lots of things, but specifically, I'm going to plug for him his Twitter account, which is @Omar Najam, which is incredibly funny. Lots of tweets there, getting a lot of attention because he makes good jokes that people like. He also has a couple of different podcasts that he does. Namely, he has the Sunnydale Study Group, which he hosts alongside Chris Bramante, and they talk about all things Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as well as a podcast series that's sort of a role-play game, but a twist on the format, which is called Thank You for Questing. And you can find links to those on his Twitter account, or find them anywhere that podcasts are found.
Hey, excellent.
That was it. Yep, that was it.
And I'm sure you all know where to find us, but if you are just tuning in because you enjoy our guests and you're like, what the hell is this show? And you liked it for some reason, you can find us everywhere. We're on Facebook. We have renamed our listeners group now. It's now the Bat Minute Listeners Cave. So you can go there, because we had to drop the 89 from the name.
Constantly pitching Bat Minute 9, but was shouted down at the press club. So
we are on Twitter @BatMinute now. That has also slightly changed, ever so slightly. So find us there and review us on iTunes. That's always a lovely thing to do. You would be the nicest people ever.
That was terrifying.
Ever. So
I just heard like a woman crying, but reversed. It was very strange.
No, that's erotic. What are you talking about? That's that's how you get people going, apparently. So if you everybody go off, get someone going, someone you love, rev their engine, And then join us again soon, because we'll be back for more Sexy Prince fun with Under the Cherry Moon coming soon. Au revoir.